purpose. Your misery is your ministry. Your pain is your purpose. Your suffering is your service. Your mess becomes your message. Your test becomes your testimony. God allows us to hurt to heal others because you cannot heal what you cannot feel. So don't let the pain of your past punish your present and paralyze your progress and purpose. I first came to Turnaround Tuesday in September, which means I've heard the higher purpose around 30 times. Every time I heard your mess becomes your message, I understood it to mean the mess around you, whether you created it or not, becomes the only thing that others see and hear. When you speak, the only thing you really talk about is your mess. And sometimes that feels true. But last night I read that and thought, your message is a gift. All any of us can really do is figure out how to fix or cope with the mess around us and then try to take that and give it to someone else and make their life a little easier. I like this answer more. Welcome to Turnaround Tuesday. I'm Rebecca. And now a message from Melvin, our co-director.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you so much for that message. Hello, Turnaround Tuesday. Welcome again for our weekly video recordings of Turnaround Tuesday. Just want to give a couple of updates from your directors, myself and Terrell Williams. One is that we really want to be involved in helping people as we come through the COVID-19 pandemic. We are in the process of securing protective equipment, PPEs. We're looking at getting masks, and we are also going to be providing hand sanitizer. So when our team calls you, you certainly can let them know that you're interested in receiving either one or both. And we're also looking at other ways where we can be helpful. So Turnaround Tuesday, we're deeply involved in what's going on. We understand many of the challenges that you guys are going through because many of you have filled out the survey that's on our website. We're encouraging you.
Go fill it out.
Please, we're encouraging you. If you have not, please go. We want to get more information on what people are experiencing. So please go to turnaroundtuesday.org. Again, that's where you can find this video as well as the survey, and you can watch videos from the previous weeks. So again, we're really interested in finding out what your struggles may be or what's positive in this. Again, some people may be navigating this well, and that's fine, and we need to know that. So now I'm going to take this opportunity to pass it on to Shabrika Johnson, who's our Director of Operations, who will give the operations update. Bree?
Thank you, Melvin. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So Bree here again with this week's Turnaround Tuesday operations update. I hope this message finds everyone well. A quick update on the jobs team. We have been actively recruiting for security, contact tracing, food service, and customer service, just to name a few. The awareness team, this week we can look forward to the volume 3 of our newsletter. And in this newsletter, there may be a recipe for creative cooking as the weather changes, tips on things to do when it comes to that. And as we are in our week 8, we have 21 newly employed and 6 tentatively pending employment. So we weekly meet and we prepare accordingly in reference to COVID-19. And so in preparation for it, I'm doing this week's spiritual vitamin. And the quote comes from, in preparation, "It is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared." That's from Whitney M. Young. Sometimes life is about seizing and maximizing opportunities. And it's difficult to accomplish this if we are not prepared to receive those opportunities. For that reason, it is important that we plan and work our plan. We as a movement prepare for the unknown and adjust even weekly. Planning and preparing means listing things you want to do in the future and putting it in place today and being ready for when tomorrow comes. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. 1, checking your phone and emails regularly, even more so than you did before. 2, get prepared for your interviews. 3, thinking more creatively of how you will now appeal to employers via phone and video, knowing your story, what sets you apart at this time, being disciplined and adaptable during these times. 4, being flexible with your hours and pay, knowing that some of the opportunities are temporary, expecting more of oneself, shorter hours, or even longer hours, even being hired for one thing, yet asked to do another. So while finding a job during this COVID-19 crisis, being prepared for consistent change is necessary. There's a certain walk of confidence that one carries when they have been prepared. So I ask you, when opportunity knocks, are you ready? Terrell, what are your thoughts on the spiritual vitamin?
So for me, you know, as I looked at that quote and I think about opportunity, I believe opportunity is really about it. Sometimes it comes in a time you know it's opportunity when the issue of normacy is broken. It's almost like you normally do this or that, and now you can no longer do it. And you have to ask yourself, is this a time to rethink something and reimagine and rethink something different? I know for me, this time has really allowed me to spend a lot of time with myself and think about how I treat people, how receptive I am to differences. You know, even with our team, you know, we are 10 very educated people, and you know, who are very skilled and talented, and we have strong personalities. And the question for me is, can there be space for all of these strong personalities where we gel together? And I'm really happy to say yes, because this team has done an incredible job of making things happen in a very, very difficult time. You know, so for Turnaround Tuesday, now for me, professionally, that's what it's been. But for Turnaround Tuesday, you know, we have to take this opportunity to better prepare and to serve. I think we have to think about how do we serve people better. I think we have to think about how do we understand people better, whether it be people or things or situations. I think it's an opportunity to look at different systems that really regulate how we live, because we know COVID really has some impact on people based on how they live. What kind of education are they getting? What kind of health care do they have? What kind of housing do they have? What about employment? Good food access, the environment. These are all things that I think we all can come out of this and look at it differently. And the great thing is, we have already built a vehicle called Turnaround Tuesday, not a program, but a movement, which means we are leaders and we can come together and take on one of those systems that we know is not fair. We can help Baltimore get closer to the world as it should be. But we know that requires action. And so this quote really, for me, really, sort of gives me the idea that we have to shift, each and every one of us individually. And then how do we shift our institutions? And I definitely want to be a part of that. And I'm waiting for it. And so now, let's talk about your own next steps in gaining employment. And I think it is Michael's turn.
Yes. So the first question is, how do we prepare for interviews? I think we should do some research on the company. It's important that we do a research on the company to see the mission and the vision of the company. During an interview, it's always good for the employer to understand that you have that interest in the company. For example, Turnaround Tuesday, we help people to find jobs. So you coming for an interview at Turnaround Tuesday, you have to be really prepared. We have to feel that you understand our mission, you understand where we go. Just like Terrell talked about, we're trying to help Baltimore. And not just Baltimore, we're trying to help everybody. So when you come to us, you have to know our mission statement. Review the job description. Later down the road, John will take us through one job description where we can look at how a typical job description looks like. Practice describing your skills with a few 1 to 2 minute stories. I always say, look in the mirror. Talk to the mirror. You are your best or your worst critic. I have a friend who records himself. And believe it or not, when you record yourself, you can tell the things that you're doing wrong. Sometimes you're sitting in the chair and then you're like this, you're going sideways. You can see all that when you record yourself. So you are your best critic or your worst one. Or talk to people, talk to friends, families, and they can help you and assess you and critique your interview. Call a Turnaround Tuesday member to practice your phone interview days before your interview. It should be like, I'll say 2 weeks before your interview date comes up. Okay, so what that is we have experts that can help you through the whole process. One important thing that we tell people when they're going for interview is can do, will do, and will fit. What do I mean by can do? Can do means you have the skills or the ability to do the job. If you're a tow truck driver, or let's say you're a forklift driver, do you have the skill? Do you have the certification? Or do you know how to drive the forklift? That is can do. And most employers will be looking for that. So will do. What do I mean by will do? Do you have the attitude to do the job? So will do goes more than that. It says, can you go above and beyond to do? Some employers will require you to do extra hours and go above what your job description is. Like Bree said in the scripture, spiritual vitamin, in this pandemic, in the era or the environment has changed. A lot of people are looking for people that are flexible. So would you be flexible enough? So it's very important to show the employer that you will be able to do the job. Will you fit? And this is a tough one. Will you fit in the culture of the organization? What do we mean by that? I always advise people that when you start a job, just lay low, keep it cool, and then study what is going on. Within that 60 to 90 days, you understand what really the culture of the company is. Thereby, the vision and the mission of the company will become apparent. Then after, you can bring your ideas. Don't just start the company and bring your ideas right on board unless it's critical. But just take some time to see so that you can fit into the organization. One big thing is, what stories should I tell? Sarah always teaches us about your private and your public stories. I struggle with it a lot of times. So during an interview, it's kind of a struggle to find what stories you can tell, right? I was talking to a gentleman who said, I'm the eldest of 6 children. In my house, there's always chaos and there's always conflict. Is that a story you would like to tell, that we are many in my family, so there's always conflict? You can twist it. That's a private story. But you can say that I understand conflict because I grew up with 6 siblings. How does that sound, team? Sounds better, right? The public part of that which you should share at the interview will be, I'm the eldest of 6 children. I was able to work and take care of my siblings, even when there was nobody. I mean, something that will tell the employer that you persevere. I did not say that you persevere. You fought hard. You're hardworking. You did everything to take care of your siblings. Every employer will hire you because it looks like you're hardworking and you love your siblings. The same thing, you can love people you work with. So let's try to differentiate between stories that will tell, which are private stories that some of them can hurt you, or against public stories, which shows your strength and what you can do. So, without talking too much, I'd like to invite a couple of the staff members, a job developer, and a staff member who will role play in real life so you can see how we coach people. If you have any help, you need any help, please feel free to call Turnaround Tuesday. We are here to help. So Cheryl and John, are you ready?
You're ready.
We are ready.
Okay.
So John, as the jobs developer, I'm wondering, in this time when people have phone interviews and video interviews, what are you recommending they do to prepare? The first step.
Well, Cheryl, the first thing they need to do is find a very nice, comfortable environment for them to work in their home. And of course, the second thing is making sure they have a place where they're not getting disturbed. Alert their family that is something that's going to be very important. And they, maybe you put a do not disturb sign on their door but someplace that's actually comfortable with good lighting. People like to see your face, because the new virtual is they want to see you. Second thing, they want you to make sure that you eat and drink before the interview. They don't like you eating and drinking. That's not that's a no-no to be eating and drinking while doing an interview. That's the first thing. Certainly what's really more important is attire. I know people believe that sometimes when you're home, you're comfortable and you don't have to worry about dressing up because you're not leaving anywhere, but it's still, first impression still counts. What we really need for you to dress up and to look good. At least a nice shirt, even a shirt and tie. Make sure you're groomed, and that certainly is important.
Okay.
Yes, Michael, you have a question.
John, so why do I need to dress up when I'm home and I'm in the comfort of my homes? And I'm sure the interviewer sometimes is not even dressed as well. So why do I need to do that? Can you explain to us, please?
Well, Michael, that's a good question. Actually, first impression is still important. We are treating this time in COVID-19 as if we're still going into an office and interview. You wouldn't go into the office with a t-shirt on and a hat. So you have to treat this as if you're going in the office. So we are just recreating an office environment. So you in your mindset, you have to think about, I'm going to an interview and I'm still trying to impress the interviewer. So that is why it's so important to have the attire.
Can I just also add really quick? I also feel differently when I'm dressed up versus me just being in casual attire. If I got on my shoes and I got my tie on my shirt, there's a different air that comes across for me. So anytime I'm doing something important, I'm going to dress like I feel like I'm important.
Yeah.
That's important.
So
Dress
John,
for success. Yes, Cheryl.
So let's, I know that a lot of people get nervous about preparing for interviews, right? So during our regular Turnaround Tuesday, I used to get a lot of calls to prep people on the phone, but I haven't gotten as many calls. So I think one of the things you and I were talking about with Michael was this is a time when you need to be reaching out to us and that we can prepare you. So I thought I'd model with you what it would look like if you called us for help, for support to get ready. Does that sound good? Okay. Because one of the things, I don't know if you've noticed, people get nervous and they think they have to be completely ready to even have the prep interview with us. And I just want to say right now, this is how we do it. Well, John and I can model how we do it, but you do not have to be completely ready. It's a learning session together. So John, let's say you have an interview this week,
Okay.
at the end of the week at University of Maryland, and you just called me up and we're going to walk through it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So, John, what job are you applying for?
I'm applying for the support services job at the University of Maryland today, Cheryl.
Okay. And have you looked at the job description at all?
I certainly have. Michael, can you put the description up? I certainly have studied the description. Actually, the description is very important.
Okay. Okay, so I'm looking at this list. Hope everybody else can see it. What strikes you that, as you look at the list, I want you to think about what qualities would someone be looking for with this kind of job description?
As I look at this list, Cheryl, it looks like we need a multiple of skills. Certainly communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to multitask, and more importantly, to be flexible. In this COVID-19 time, you can be, they ask you to do a lot of different things, maybe outside of the norm. Every day looks a little different. Maybe every hour looks a little different. So you have to really be flexible and be prepared to just kind of be pulled in multiple directions.
Yeah, this job description certainly has a lot of things on it, like clerical support and food prep and transporting waste. So it does look like you have to be incredibly flexible.
Absolutely.
Let's walk through like how you would prepare. We have one advantage, right, when you're on the phone or a video interview. Do you have like a pad of paper nearby and a pen?
Absolutely. Have a pad and a paper here to write our notes. I'm prepared.
All right. What I would recommend is like writing those 3 words down you told me. What were they again? That you want to make sure they know about you.
Communication.
Communication.
A multitasker.
Multitasker.
And more important, flexibility.
Flexibility. Okay. So if there's a chance by the end of the interview where you don't have a chance to say anything about that, look at that paper and make sure you say something, right?
Absolutely.
Let's go back to the beginning, preparing your room. So you talked about you'd put a sign outside the door, right?
Something that says do not disturb, yes.
What room, I mean, sometimes people have trouble finding a quiet space in their house these days, right? So
absolutely.
What do you recommend? Like, what do you think in your house? Where are you gonna go?
Well, I go to maybe a room that has a door that you can close, a bedroom, or some place that you can actually close the door so you don't have to worry about somebody walking by and things of that nature. I would recommend a room with a door
Okay.
with lighting.
Okay, I'm thinking about the lighting in the background. I see you have picture of, looks like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Looks like you're on vacation. It's very distracting to me. I'm not sure. What do you think? Maybe something a little more muted for the interview?
Maybe you're right. Maybe this is not a good idea to have a Hawaiian setting in the background. It gives a kind of.
All right, let's try that. Yeah.
This is much better. This would be better. Right
Okay.
now, you look like you're in your own home.
It's like Michael had a question.
Yes, Michael.
Sorry.
Question for you. There's a split in your curtain. I keep looking through to see if I'm going to see that bridge, the Hawaiian bridge. Is there any way you can close that thing?
That's important, Michael. Certainly can do that.
Michelle, while he does that, did you have a question?
I also wanted to make sure that, when you're doing interviews, making sure that there's nothing personal in the background as well. So if you're in your bedroom, that your bed isn't showing, or your bed, your items on your bed aren't showing. And if you can find like a plain wall or just something to sit in front of, that's also going to be very helpful for the interviewer.
Great idea. Rebecca, you had an idea too?
I have a question. There are a lot of pretty obvious drawbacks to the whole Zoom interview thing. I was wondering if you have been thinking about any benefits, any opportunities that we now have that people may not have had before with interviews being over the phone.
Yeah. John, go ahead.
One of the things is that when you do an interview and you're looking face, sometimes you get very nervous and a lot of things happen. I think the Zoom helps you kind of hide that. All they're seeing is your face. They don't see your arms or your legs and your hands shaking. So I think that one of the things is that you can kind of hide some of your nervousness. I know interviews, they get very nervous. So I think that's one of the advantages of Zoom, personally.
You can also have notes, right? So nobody can see anything you got there. If you're nervous, just write down some things on a paper. You can be looking at it. You probably can't tell I got a paper right in front of me right now. That's reminding me what I'm doing. Nobody can see it, but here it is. Okay. Which reminds me.
So John and Cheryl, is that a time to have the answers to those 5 questions that all interviewers usually ask, and maybe have one prepared story?
That's a great idea. Yeah, and we can run through, why don't we run through, John, just a few of those? Because you said the interviews now are sometimes only 15 minutes long, right?
Yes, they're doing very short interviews, yes.
Okay, so let's just run through it. One of the questions. So John, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, Cheryl, I am from New York City. I've been here in Baltimore for about 15 to 18 years. I moved here to slow down the lifestyle. I was working on Wall Street, so I kind of came here to Maryland for lifestyle. I actually was doing some entertaining. I believe it or not, I did a little stint with being a stand-up comic, making people smile and laugh. I come from a long line of people at Human Services. My mother was a nurse. My father was conductor on the New York train, helping people on and off. And so I come from a long line of customer service people. So that's kind of, who I am.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm curious, why University of Maryland? Why apply to us?
Well, Cheryl, I see University of Maryland on TV all the time. They're doing a magnificent job with this COVID-19. I'm looking at all the work they're doing, and I looked up University of Maryland as one of the prestigious hospitals in Maryland, and so they're very popular. And so I wanted to be a part of the support team and doing, enjoying what they're doing.
Okay. I see from your your resume, you've got a lot of experience. Could you tell me one of your strengths that you would bring to this job?
Well, one of the strengths I have, Cheryl, is communication. I have good communication skills, being able to articulate. I do make people feel very comfortable, and I'm also very flexible. I've had a lot of multitasking jobs where I've done a lot of different things, and I've worked different shifts, different hours my whole life. So basically, flexibility and communication is one of my strong strengths I can bring to you and them.
Okay, thank you. So let's stop there. So let's walk through for a moment. How do you feel right now in the interview's over for a moment? So how are you feeling you're doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm comfortable.
Oh, really?
This is new for me, doing an interview on virtual,
Okay.
but this just takes getting used to. But again, as you go on, it gets a little better, get more comfortable.
You seem relaxed to me. I heard you communicate pretty clearly why you wanted to work and a little bit about yourself, not too private, but kind of a nice balance of understanding who you were in the short
Yes.
time. But you worked on that, right? Because you and I talked about it before.
Absolutely. Prepping is important.
Yeah. The one thing I was thinking is we always teach about telling a story. So you were talking about being communicative and being flexible, multitasking. I'm not sure if you said that just now, but do you have like a 1 or 2 minute story you could draw on to maybe support that quality?
Certainly, I have many stories of being flexible. One of the stories that jumps out in my mind right now is I was tasked to, as a job developer, to help out on a food drive. The food drive was just something I was going to, that was outside of my normal tasking, was not in my job description. Just was going to support, maybe putting some food in the trunk, whatever I can do. One of the drivers got into a little accident and could not make the route. So I kind of took over the route and delivered the food, and also was able to, take care of some very needy families. That was very thankful for that. And I also had to do my other tasking for my job development duties. So my day was a little longer, but it was okay. It was just a matter of just being spontaneous, being able to just to get on the job, and as Michael said, do what you have to do sometimes. So that's kind of an example of me being flexible.
Yeah, I like that. And you can even sometimes package it like this. You could say, well, last Tuesday, I came on the job, and even though I wasn't supposed to do this, I got a call and was asked to walk in. So people get a picture of in the job. That's sort of the story elements that we always talk about, that Terrell teaches. But I like that story that's showing your flexibility without having to say the word. That would come across powerfully. So we have to stop now, but there are other things. Maybe we could talk again tomorrow, because I know sometimes it takes a couple days to prepare for an interview and a couple calls. I know you've got a few gaps in your resume, so we could go over how you might speak to that if someone asks, and any other things that if you want to think of a few other stories, we can practice them and see what resonates. But if your interview is over, what would you do next?
Well, what I would do next is send an email to the employer thanking them for the opportunity to be interviewed, especially during this time.
Great.
That would be what I do.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think.
I just have one question. Are there any issues around answer machines and those kinds of things, making sure as employers are calling people that we checked our answer machines and our social media and all that good stuff? I know I remember you all talking about that several months back when you did the training.
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. You should be checking I think as Bree even said for the spiritual vitamin, like every day you ought to be checking these things, but you better make sure that it sounds professional, that everything, any picture that they get of you on Facebook or when your voicemail, that it's a professional. So you're not in your voicemail saying a scripture, even if that's something that means something to you at this time while you're looking for work. It's got to be a professional look. And if you answer the phone, if you can't talk right at that moment, tell them you'll call them right back, and have a paper always with you. You could write the number down in case you're on, outside, or it's loud, or you're not in a place that you can accept it. Just always keeping that professional image.
More importantly, answer your phone. You've had situations where people are seeing numbers that they're not familiar with, and because we're all making these phone calls and they don't know our numbers. So it's important to answer your phone. I know that some of these phone calls are probably not good in terms of scam, but you have to take a chance because we are calling. So please answer your phone.
Yeah.
And also, social media, it's somewhere that employers go to look at people's profile. So if you're telling an employer, I'm this way, and on social media, you're portraying something else, you have to portray something that will speak well to you. So let's be mindful of our social media feeds and things that we post and stuff like that. Thank you.
Very good, Michael.
Okay.
So Michelle, what do you have for us with the support resources this week?
Hello, Turnaround Tuesday. So resources today. As things are changing, the weather is getting nicer and we're moving back into going outside a little bit more. We do want to make sure that everyone continues to use their PPEs so that you're thinking about your health and the health of everyone else. I have some of the latest numbers here. And in Maryland alone, we have 34,061 confirmed cases of COVID, with 1,643 of those resulting in death. And this past weekend alone, there's been 1,053 deaths. So I really do want to overemphasize that we do have to have our PPEs readily available at all times. In addition to that, Michael, can we go back for 1 second? In addition to that, unemployment, we're revisiting the topic of unemployment because it is so important. There's been many, many problems with the system, and I've gotten a lot of calls about that. However, they are changing some things so that they're doing it a little bit differently. The system is being inundated with all the calls and the emails, but they're trying to streamline it so that everyone has an opportunity to get through. So to follow over the phone number is 410-949-0022, and they've extended the days and times. So now that they're available from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays, and even on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you have to call, please use that number and do it during those times, and try doing it during the off-peak times. The earlier, the better. If you have access to apply online, that will be a better option. Applying online gives you the opportunity to be in a virtual waiting room, so you can see how many people you have ahead of you, leave your computer on, go attend to some things, and come right back. You can also even provide them with an email, and you'll get an email when it's 3 people away from your turn. So that's also a really good option. The online system is up all day and all night, with the exception of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. when they're doing maintenance. Michael, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So in order to apply online, we can go to the Beacon website. They have a specific application on there that they want you to use. There's also videos on YouTube that really help navigate you through the process if you're having some concerns. And finally, there is an email attached here so that you can see that if there are problems, and if you applied in March and you still haven't received anything, or if you haven't gotten any communication in some time, go ahead and send an email to that email address. You have to do that first before you call to try to put in a claim of any sort. They want to see that there was an email filing a complaint first. Okay, so those are just some of the steps that help streamline through the process and make this a little bit better. Lastly, there's many food resources in the city available. We have a list of them on our website. And in addition to that, you know, if food is not the thing that you're looking for at this time, if that's not a requirement for you, please go onto our website at www.turnaroundtuesday.org and complete the survey. That way we have a better idea of what's going on with you, whether it's good or bad, and we can help to address those needs if the resources are available. But if we don't know about it, we can't help you with it. Thank you so much, Turnaround Tuesday, and I hope that everyone is staying well and continuing to use their PPEs.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We at Turnaround Tuesday invite all religions, anybody, any faith, whether you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, we invite every faith. But I'm a Christian, so I'm going to say a little prayer for everything that is going on now. So let's keep our heads bowed. Father God, we lift up the nation before you. We pray that in this season of pandemic, may you heal people. May you touch families that are broken. May you touch people who are experiencing loss. Father, we pray for them. Bring healing, bring peace, bring love. Above all, may you lift up the hand that will help others. Put in our hearts to be able to help others, because we need that in this season. All this we ask in our God's name. Amen.
Amen.
So now we have the gratitude jar by JC.
Yes,
Michael,
everyone. Thank you.
Sorry, JC, before we go there, I just wanted to take a moment of silence for the people we've lost to the COVID, and also for the recent tragedy that occurred over the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for that. And that leads to what I'm grateful for my gratitude jar, which is life. I don't know if you all can see it, but a lot of people take it for granted. And as Michelle stated, we're losing a lot of our loved ones and friends and family to the epidemic that's going on. So if you can find it in your heart to just find something to be grateful for, because you're able to still have the activity of your limbs daily. So life is what I'm grateful for, right?
That's great, team.
Thank you. Now, Michael, before we go, please help us with this exercise.
Oh, JC, I thought you were going to do the exercise. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's go. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That was called sitting jacks. Thank you so much. And we love you.
Thank you so